All right, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome. And today we'll be just talking about something we're all pretty good at is sin. We've all been practicing most of our life at this, so we all should be pretty good at it by this point. But essentially, again, I'm going to say this every single week, but the whole point of this Sunday school series I was doing was we use a lot of terms that we kind of take for granted, and I want to make sure that we know what the terms we're using are. Like sin gets thrown around all the time, but I want to know that we truly understand what exactly sin is. So sin, the word sin comes from actually an old archery term, which means to miss the mark. So missing the mark in this would be falling short of the glory of God. So anything that we do that is not perfectly in line with God's will could be considered sinful. And we can, if you all remember a while ago when we talked about arguments for the existence of God, one of the arguments was the argument through gradation. So different grades of things. So some things are better than other things, like me helping a grandma walk across the street is better than me kicking a baby in the head. So by us seeing that there are certain things that are better than other things, then there is, we're essentially saying that there must be a maximum good that we're comparing these things to. So essentially that is God. That is our reference of the maximum good. So that is what we are comparing all evil to, is how it falls short of the good. So a common dispute people have for religion and Christianity is saying, I just don't want to follow all the rules you have, like you just have pointless rules. But again, we've been saying this for the past, ever since I started this, is our God is a God of logic, and the quote-unquote rules of sin that he has aren't just redundant rules. There's actually logic behind them. All right, I'll just go over the 7 deadly sins. I'm sure y'all have heard that. Now, nowhere in the Bible is there 7 sins that are listed out, but these are a good framework to use that kind of encompass different types of sins, and you can it categorizes different sins. So I just realized this like about a week ago, is that that the 7 deadly sins can be used to make an acronym for plague. Misspelled, but still, because again, sin is a plague on our life. So the 7 deadly sins are pride, lust, anger, greed, gluttony, envy, and sloth. So I think we'll see throughout this that I think you can really reduce the 7 deadly sins to 1 deadly sin of pride, because pride again is the root of all sin. That's why it's at the top. And it's also at the top because it starts with P. So pride. Pride is the act of putting yourself above others, having the view of yourself higher than the view of anything else or anyone else. Lust is, again, there's a sexual lust, the desire, the temptation, the desire to have what should not be yours. Anger is, again, anger is a form of pride. All of these are a form of pride. Anger is me having a strict judgment over someone, a judgment that I am not entitled to have over someone. Greed, again, it's the taking of what is not mine. I want to accumulate more so that I am above someone else. I want to take what could be given to someone else and accumulate for myself. Gluttony, same thing as greed. It's the constant accumulation. Gluttony is normally attributed with food, but it doesn't always have to be attributed with food. There's I forget who, but some theologian was saying that even the excess of exercise could be considered a form of gluttony, because gluttony is the obsession with a thing, the constant desire, the drive for a set thing. So you become gluttonous in a certain aspect. Most of the time when this is used, it is used in terms of food and that. Envy, again, the desire to have what is someone else's and that is not yours. Envy does not in no way has any envy ever helped a single person. Like, you've never been a better person by seeing a Lamborghini drive by and say, oh, I wish I had that instead of them. You've never been a better person because of that. And sloth, laziness. Sloth is so we're going to talk about two different types of sins: the sins of commission, so the sins by the things you do, and then the sins of omission, sins by the things that you don't do. So that's the category that sloth and laziness would fall into. Is there's certain things that would be wrong to do simply by not doing them. Like, you give me this I don't know, your insulin, and you're like, hey, give this to me tomorrow so I don't forget it, and then I'm like, oh, I'm just going to hide this away and not give it to him. That's a sin by me not doing something. An example of that. So again, we're gonna be talking about how kind of pride is truly the root of all the sins. Like, the 7 deadly sins can be boiled down to the one deadly sin, which is pride. In the Deuterocanonical books, in the book of Sirach, it says, the beginning of man's pride is to depart from the Lord. So pride, again, it is the desire or the act to put your judgment above that of God's, or that above man's, and putting your own view above the view of someone else's. As we see again in this picture of this lady who's obsessed with her mirror. Like, she is a prideful person. Like, she is obsessed with her own view. Proverbs 16:18. I'm sure we've heard this all before. Pride goes before destruction. Pride can lead you to every single evil known to man. But pride, if you remove pride, you remove almost all sin from your life. Like, we are all extremely prideful people, because we are all obsessed with our own view of ourselves. So often people will break sins into 3 different categories of sin against others, sin against self, and sin against God. And they kind of put that in that order because it's kind of the order of how obvious it is. But really, all sin is against all 3 of these. Every sin that you commit is a sin against yourself. It is a sin against others, and it is a sin against God. So you can't really break them up into that way, but on the surface level, that's what they might look like. Like, murder is a sin against another, but truly it's also a sin against yourself because it damages your soul, and it's a sin against God because it is a destruction of an image bearer of God. Sin against the self, getting drunk. Some people would say, and we're going to go more into these later. And some people would say that oh, who cares if I just go around getting drunk all the time? That's me. That's what I'm doing. But really, it's a sin against others because how you going around drunk affects how you treat other people. And again, it is a destruction of what God intends for your life. And then sin against God. For the vast majority of people, that's going to be the lowest on the totem pole because a lot of people don't believe in God. So why would they care about a sin against God? But truly, that is the highest of all sins because you are disrespecting the creator of the whole universe, which all these sins do. All right, so there's going to be an uncontroversial statement of murder is bad. We can all agree on that. So this is going to be the first sin that we'll be diving into, the sin of murder. So murder is the unlawful or unjust killing of an innocent life. So we'll dive into it after someone wants to read Matthew 5:21 and 22. Anyone got it?
I got Matthew 5:21.
Perfect.
You have heard that it was said to those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in the danger of judgment. Whoever says to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire.
Okay. I put these verses in the wrong order. That was actually going to be the last verse I wanted you all to read. So does anyone have we'll revisit that here in a second. Anyone have Exodus 20:13?
You shall not murder.
There we go. The classic, you shall not murder. An easy one. Again, that's taken from the 10 Commandments. We're all familiar with the 10 Commandments. So the reason behind why God doesn't want us to murder is, again, it all goes back to pride. Is like, yeah, we can all say it's wrong to murder, but can we say why it is wrong to murder? In that, yeah, if you don't have a reason behind it, you can't really explain why it is wrong to murder. So it would be wrong to murder because that is, again, you taking judgment into your own mind and saying, oh, my life is above the life of this other person, so I have the right to take this person's life. So that is an act of pride. You putting yourself as the ultimate judge and the ordainer of life. You're essentially making yourself God. The only person who can give and take life is God. And you are putting yourself in that position of saying, oh no, I have enough judgment to be able to take this person's life. I'm going to kill Sarah in this scenario, sorry. But Sarah has a phone, and I'm like, oh, I really want that phone, but Sarah's not just going to give it to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a rock and bash her on the head and take her phone. In that scenario, I'm putting my own judgment to be able to take her life, and I'm also even putting this object of her phone above her life. So I'm really reducing the creation that God has in Sarah as an image bearer of God. So that is a disrespect to God, it is a disrespect to life, and it is a disrespect to yourself, because the ultimate respectful thing to yourself is to know your own place, and that is you putting yourself in a position that you are not entitled to be in. Does anyone want to read John 19:11?
Yeah, I got that. You would have no authority over me at all, Jesus answered him, if it hadn't been given from you above. This is why the one who handed me over to you has the greater sin. Yeah,
and again, we don't have the authority to take life. We don't have this authority. This was not authority that was given to us. God is the only one who has that authority to do so. And I'll actually have Father Mike read again Matthew 5:21 and 22.
Okay, Matthew 5:21
and 22.
You have heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be in danger of the judgment. But I say to you that whoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in danger of the judgment. And whoever says to his brother, Raka, shall be in danger of the council. But whoever says, you fool, shall be in danger of hellfire.
Yeah, so this is kind of a common mistake I hear a lot of people say is that in this verse, Jesus is putting anger towards someone or hatred towards someone on the same level as the physical murder of them. When that's not really what Jesus is saying, he's really putting them in the same category. Again, if we go to the 7 deadly sins, it breaks them down into categories. So murder would be a thing that falls under the category of anger. This is not to say that every single sin is exactly the same. They're all in the same category in that they separate us from God, but they have different effects on the soul. So me getting angry and cursing you out of my car because you cut me off is going to have a drastically different effect on my soul. It's still sin, it's still evil, but it's going to have a drastically different effect on my soul than me getting angry, cursing you out in my car, and then shooting you. So there are gradations to sin, but all sins truly do separate us from God. I don't want to diminish that at all. Often when people have this objection of, I don't want to join your religion because you have a bunch of rules. Really, what I find most of the time what they mean is that they want to go around and be sexual deviants and get drunk and high. That's really the two sins that they kind of want to hold on to, is the main thing. So we're going to talk about unchastity for a second here, and this is chastity is the keeping oneself sexually pure and holding yourselves to the standard that God wants you to hold to, and having control over one's impulses and body. Does anyone want to read 1 Corinthians 6:18?
I've got it ready.
All right, perfect.
Flee sexual immorality. Every sin that a man does is outside the body, but he who commits sexual immorality sins against his own body.
Yeah. So the thing with sexual immorality is it treats people as a means to an end. And again, that is, again, pride coming into it, is through, we'll use the example of soliciting a prostitute. Of, again, you are reducing this person to a commodity that can be bought and sold. So you are reducing the dignity of this person by exchanging goods for, again, their body and their dignity. And this is also sin against yourself, because you are reducing your own dignity by doing so. Because you're exchanging money, but really you're both in the exchange of this sin. And then one of the most common sins these days of pornography would fall in this same category of the only difference between pornography and prostitution is a camera. So anyone who struggles with pornography or is guilty of pornography is in the same camp as someone who solicits a prostitute. So again, it is all treating people as a means to an end, and that is wrong, because people have dignity within themselves and should be respected in that right. Does anyone want to read Hebrews 13:4?
Okay, I got it. Hebrews 13:4. Marriage is honorable among all, and the bed undefiled, but for the fornicators and adulterers God will judge.
Yeah. Again, marriage is a holy institution that was created by God. And the ends of marriage is a union between a man and woman that is beneficial to them, ordered towards the raising of children. And the whole idea of marriage is, again, a beneficial union between one man and one woman, and the whole order towards it, the point of it is in order to raise children in a good environment. Again, and we see all the time, like all the statistics of how much more likely someone is to go into a life of crime if they grow up in a single parent household. Like, there are things that can be avoided in that of you shouldn't run off from your spouse and leave them abandoned with their children, because it is the good for the children to have their parents available to them. And through fornication outside of the marriage, that dissolves that stability that children need. And that's one of the reasons why it is wrong, but there's a lot more, and this is just a quick overview over these sins. So, drunkenness. So Ephesians 5:18 says, getting drunk leads to debauchery, and Galatians 5:19 through 21, and this isn't the exact verse, it's just summarized, says, those who engage in this lifestyle will not inherit the kingdom. So the reason drunkenness is wrong is as people we are like the angels in that we have intellect and we have a soul and we are holy, but we are also like the animals in that we have instinct, we are carnal, and essentially what drunkenness is, it almost gets rid of that angelic side of our being, of our intellect, our holiness, and just reduces us to our base instincts and our carnal desires. What was I going to say here? So the sin of drunkenness is it gets rid of your faculties of reason, and reason is how we can come to relate to God and know God, and you are getting rid of that part of yourself. Again, it's not wrong to drink alcohol. Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. Alcohol itself is not the evil. It is the abuse of it. That's where the pride comes in, of saying, oh no, I can take this substance and I can control, I can do whatever I want with it. I can poison myself with it. It's my body, my life. I can do whatever I want with it. That is pride, because it is not your body and your life. It is God's. It belongs to Him alone. And that's your pride coming in and wanting to take control over said thing. And if you notice, down at the bottom, I have a little Colombian cumin, a sin spinach leaf, a left-handed cigarette. I'm talking about pot down at the bottom.
You said sin spinach leaf?
Sin spinach leaf.
That's cute, I like that.
Left-handed cigarette. So there's going to be a more common one that we see these days as something like marijuana becomes more and more popular. It's going to be the same sin as drunkenness. Getting high is same thing. Is you're losing your faculties of reason. So you could make the argument that marijuana in itself is not sinful. It's the actual getting high through the marijuana that would be sinful. I've not really met anyone yet who is an avid marijuana smoker who does not get high. But it is technically wouldn't be sinful to smoke marijuana if you didn't get high. I have not met that person yet, but technically, yeah, it wouldn't intrinsically be sinful because it is an inanimate object, and objects are amoral. But the abuse of them is wrong.
What would you say, Drew, about the current state of medicinal marijuana?
So that's, I think that would fall into, I don't know about how medicinal marijuana works. From, again, what I see a lot of times is people go, oh, I've got anxiety, so that's my excuse to get high. But really, I don't see that as the solution to your anxiety. But if it truly is a medicinal thing, that would fall into the category of, so if someone going into surgery has anesthetics done to them, that on the surface that would look like them giving up their faculties of reason, falling into the same category of drunkenness or getting high. But really the goal of someone getting anesthesia before surgery is not, again, for them to lose these things. It's in order to be able to do this thing for their own good. So as long as it's not the end, but it's a mean to a good thing. So you're going in for heart surgery. Obviously, you can't be conscious for that, or you'll probably die because you're thrashing around. Yeah. So your own good is for you to, again, be kind of subdued, so that a good thing can be done. But it would be wrong for you just to take anesthetics because you wanted the anesthetics.
As far as marijuana goes, they have these new strains now called CBD. It does not have the THC in it, so it has all the medicinal qualities without the making you high element. So there's really no more excuse for using full-on marijuana for medicinal purposes when you could just smoke or take the kind that doesn't get you high.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I've been to places where they have like CBD soap. Even I'm like, I'm not gonna. It's not sinful. It's not sinful to wash your hands with the CBD soap because it's not doing the sinful act of losing your faculties of reason and the thing that makes you man and not an animal. And often the thing that you'll see with marijuana use is it'll fall into that last of the deadly sins of sloth or laziness. Like, just sit around all day smoking weed is not going to be beneficial to your life. And gluttony, and gluttony. So we'll get into this third category of sin of blasphemy, or the sin against God, when really all sin is sin against God, but there is more explicit sin against God. If someone wants to read Luke 12:10, and while someone does that, I'll just read a quote from Origen, an ancient Christian from the 2nd century. He says, "Blasphemy against God is a grievous sin. The tongue that utters such word is complicit in evil."
And anyone who speaks a word against the Son of Man, it will be forgiven him. But to him who blasphemes against the Holy Spirit, it will not be forgiven.
Yeah, so blasphemy against the Holy Spirit is kind of, it's often quoted as the unforgivable sin, when all sins are truly forgivable by Christ and the Father. But what blasphemy of the Holy Spirit is talking about is you not allowing God to forgive you, and you not turning to Christ. That is the unforgivable sin. Again, you putting your own judgment above the judgment of God. Me going out and sinning and continuously sinning and not allowing Jesus to forgive me for these sins. That is putting my own judgment against the judgment of my God. Therefore, putting myself in the place of God, blaspheming the Holy Spirit. That is. And that's why that is viewed as the unforgivable sin. The unforgivable sin is the only sin, is the sin where, by definition, you're not allowing to be forgiven. So, God is not going to force you to be forgiven. Anyone have Exodus 27?
You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain.
Yeah, this is often where people's minds go to when they are talking about blasphemy, is honoring the holy name of God. Again, God is the creator of the universe, the one perfect being. So it is wrong to demean his name and to reduce his name, because that would be slanderous. Like if I go around spreading lies about Father Mike, it would like saying, "Oh, the other night I saw him kick a puppy." That would be wrong, because I'm lessening the name of Father Mike, and that's what we do at any time that we just flippantly throw around God's name. Is we are lessening his name, and truly he is the most holy being, and his name should not be lessened. And looks like we're almost out of time, but real quick, I'm going to talk about submitting to authority. And as Americans, this is not a sin that we often think about, because we're independent, we're our own people. But really, it is in these verses here, it lays out that we are to be subjects to the authorities placed above us. So you can make an argument that even speeding down the highway could be a form of sin, because there were authorities that were placed above us, and as Christians we are subject to said authorities. This is like I speed all the time, and I should probably not do that as much, but again, these authorities were placed before us, so we are to be subject to the laws that they create, and it would be wrong to put our own judgment above the authorities that God put above us. But often the dispute of this is, oh, what if they're persecuting Christians and that kind of thing? In that case, it would be okay. Like if the government made a law of saying, oh, you can't worship God, we're going to worship God anyway, because God's law is above the law of man. So as long as the law of man does not contradict the law of God, we are to be subject to it. Yeah, so looks like we're out of time. I was going to go into the 10 Commandments, but that would be a little redundant, because I was just going to link them all back to pride. Every single one of these 10 Commandments links back to pride and your view and your own judgment above the judgment of God. So, yeah, thank you all. Any last questions before we close out for today?
So if we speed, should we ask God to forgive us for speeding? Because that speed comes to Sunday school. So speed for a good reason,
Yeah.
a good cause.
Well, I would say if you're speeding in a in the government, like is our authority, they do have some leniency built into the law, like going 9 miles over. Most areas are like, oh, that's fine. The government is allowing that. So in that sense, I would say that's fine. But if you're going like 200 miles an hour, you're actively putting people's lives in danger. In which case, I would still say being reckless to that degree could still be sinful. So I would try to avoid being a NASCAR driver down Dillsburg.